Thanks for joining us. I'm Randall Bennett. Today, T-Mobile announced through their parent company, Deutsche Telekom, that they've sold 1 million T-Mobile G1s in the United States. And that's obviously a big win for Google, since its Android operating system is on the phone, and for T-Mobile as well, since T-Mobile is obviously seen as one of the lesser, least important carriers out of the big four. But does this impact the consumer's view of Android in the marketplace? Let's talk to two experts who know what they're talking about. We have Joshua Topolsky from Engadget. He's the editor-in-chief there. Josh, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We also have John Falcone from CNET Reviews. John, thanks for being with us as well.
Sure.
So obviously this is kind of a big deal for T-Mobile. In my mind, 1 million units of any product is a milestone worth celebrating. Joshua, do you think that this kind of validates the G1 as an iPhone competitor and validates Android in the marketplace as kind of a platform to watch?
Well, I think that I think that the G1 is a competitor, whether or not it sells 1 million units. I mean, I think we can't just base it on sales, but this definitely helps to put a little weight behind the idea that people are looking at other platforms, they're thinking about other platforms, and obviously Android is one of them. What I think, what Android really needs at this point is not just not just a phone with 1 million sales, but it needs more devices. I think that the sales look good for T-Mobile and for the G1, but as far as Android's place right now on a broader scale, I don't think it's making the impact it can or should, because there's just not, there's no variety of devices. There's only one carrier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only device that's really out right now in America anyway that's an Android device for sure. John, do you think that this is, do you think this announcement is a win for them, or what's your take on this whole situation?
I think it's great for them that they've hit 1 million, but I agree 100% with Josh that the more important number for them will be 2, and not as in 2 million, but as in a second device.
Yeah.
It's been really surprising that at the GSM World Conference and at CTIA, we all thought we were going to see at least a second, third, fourth Android phone, and nothing was really officially shown. I think it looks like the HTC Magic, which has been kind of unofficially shown at these shows and otherwise, looks like it might be finally coming out from Vodafone in Europe or the UK next month. And a lot of people are excited about that device. I just think that we do need to start seeing it coming out on other devices, and other carriers I think would be really great as well.
So what's the holdup? I mean, does anyone really know why we haven't seen a second Android device, Josh?
Well, I think that, I mean, the thing about the shows that we've seen recently and whether or not we've seen more Android phones, there were some at Mobile World Congress. We expected more. And I think one of the things that we're not seeing is not just Android devices, because you see a lot of smaller phone makers creating them, but we expected to see the bigger companies, Samsung and some of the other really visible companies coming out with their versions of Android on their Android devices, and I think that's one of the things that's lacking. I'm not sure what the holdup is. I mean, I think that it takes a long time to develop. For a company like Samsung, it takes them a long time to get such an open platform into a form that they're happy with. But I also think you've got a lot of pressure right now from Microsoft with 6.5 and trying to hold on to their place. This kind of section of the marketplace they've carved out for Windows Mobile with a lot of the same partners that the Open Handset Alliance has, and I think there may be some pressure from Microsoft to kind of have these bigger names back off. This is me wildly speculating, but I do think that we saw some of that at Mobile World Congress.
I think it's interesting to note that too. We're about 2 or 3 weeks away from Windows Mobile 6.5 officially hitting. It'll be interesting to see if someone can actually, if Windows Mobile 6.5 gets that same imprint that Android kind of has in consumers' mindsets and in our mindsets as well as journalists. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about the Pirate Bay. So today there was a lawyer for the Pirate Bay who claims that the judge on the case was in cahoots with the anti-copyright movement, basically where one of the judges is claimed to have connections to people who are trying to get the Pirate Bay founders in jail. He's claiming mistrial, wants to retry the whole thing. Of course, at this news, internet commenters go crazy. They hear, oh, finally we're vindicated. The Pirate Bay needs to be saved. It's kind of interesting that internet commenters have this allegiance to the Pirate Bay that feels like, the Pirate Bay hasn't done anything wrong. They haven't helped, they say, some people will even say that they haven't even helped facilitate copyright. People are just doing it themselves. John, what do you think? Why do you think internet commenters are so vehemently supportive of the Pirate Bay?
I think they want to, pretend they're standing up to the man or whatever and making a statement about rebelling against authority. But in reality, they just like to download free stuff and don't want to pay for anything. I mean, let's be honest here. It's like people who pretend to be for against for marijuana legalization because they want to have hemp rope. That's not why they want hemp legalized. Come on.
That's a good. I like that analogy. That's
Josh. What's your take?
I mean, here's the thing about commenters. Not all commenters. Some are great, but there is a certain percentage of sort of internet personality. There's an internet personality that is going to be attracted to stuff like pirating, music or TV, and as a result, they're going to kind of root for the Pirate Bay no matter what the facts are. I mean, I think the thing about the Pirate Bay is, I'm not sure that they should be vilified or deified. They were doing something. It obviously has some. There obviously are implications when it comes to copyright law, when it comes to the pirating of other people's property. Their name is the Pirate Bay, so that's kind of a giveaway. So I think that in terms of support on the internet, you're going to have that pretty decent chunk of users who are they like pirating music, they like pirating movies. They're not going to they're really not going to make any bones about it. Here's a great platform for them to sort of mask it and saying there's sort of they're being persecuted.
Yeah.
I think
I
don't think that. I'm not sure they're being like. I'm not sure it's been fair what's happening with the Pirate Bay, but that's probably a question for people that have a much better understanding of the law than I do.
And that's kind of my take too. Is obviously there could be some sketchy legal stuff going on. I'm not saying that this is a totally fair trial, but I also A, don't live in Sweden, and B, I can notice that they post these takedown notices and make fun of them. Like, obviously they are into helping people violate copyright, and so I don't, I'm kind of along lines with you, Josh. That
I think the indication that that there's been some kind of foul play in the trial is probably a bit of a creation for a certain group. I mean, I don't really feel like they actually had their sentence was that harsh. I mean, I think it probably could have been harsher. I'm not saying they got off easy.
But if they're in the U.S., I mean, you look at $250,000 per incident, and some of those people who are sharing on Napster, they were threatened with millions of dollars of infringement, and the Pirate Bay founders are actually actively trying to make this happen. I don't know. It's an interesting situation regardless. Guys, we're out of time, so we'll have to leave it there. Joshua Topolsky from Engadget, thanks for joining us. Also, John Falcone from CNET Reviews, thank you for filling in as well. I'm Randall Bennett, and we'll see you on the show next time. We're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere. Make sure you check us out. I'm Randall Bennett. Later.